A lot of lessons learned for me on this fire. As you may remember, a couple years ago, my friend Alan and I, who's fighting forest fire with, or wildland fire with the Forest Service, this is his second year, did a video, I think it was called War Bag, where we had some ideas on what we wanted in our packs. I'll tell you that a good portion of that has completely been turned upside down because of one thing: weight. Weight has become a big issue for me. Trying to work with a pack, I was able to strip down almost 6 or 7 pounds out of my pack with things that just didn't need to be there. So because we did so much falling work and we had 3 saws going, when they were running, when we were doing some brushing out with our strike team, I learned some valuable lessons, and I have put together a kit that I would strongly recommend you consider some of these things if you are going to find yourself in this role. We didn't have many of these things, and it did cause some problems. Everything was overcame, of course, but it could have been better. So I want to share with you the things that I've put together, and this is bare bones minimum, because weight to me is so critical after being all day on that saw and with pack and all that. This is what I came up with. A couple of small wedges. These wedges, guys were having pinched bars in different logs, and they were bucking and things, and having these little guys, if you don't have your main follower's belt, they don't take up much space, and you can include them in a small bag in your kit. Also, files. Most guys had files. I've got 3 files here. I've got 3 brand new chainsaw filing files and a flat raker file. Not one of us had a raker file, and because the guys we were cutting and doing brushing out in the rocks and on the ground, our chains were getting absolutely hammered, and they took a lot of filing. And then what was happening is the rakers were sticking up, or the depth gauge is so high that they wouldn't cut properly because we didn't have this simple tool right here, a $4 raker gauge. So this is also going to be included in the kit, as well as a spare wrench, a chainsaw wrench right here. Of course, guys had the primary ones, and this is my primary one here that I keep on my belt, and I drill a hole in it and put a piece of paracord on there so I can get to it quickly, and I don't have to constantly undo my pack and go digging for it, or put this in a pocket where it's going to skewer me if I fall. A carburetor tool. That depending on your abilities to adjust the carburetor, an extra spark plug, and a file handle. A file handle, this is a steel file handle that will fit on both the raker or the depth gauge file as well as the chain file, and the Torx tool. This is the factory Torx tool that came with the saw. If I had a handle backing out or something, this will pretty much disassemble the entire saw. 2 sets of earplugs, an extra factory elasto steel pull rope, and then some internal parts. These I never did have issue with them, and I never have, but I went down and I talked to the steel mechanics that work on this logger saws, and I told them what I was doing, and I asked them, what would you put in a kit? What would you put in your replacement kit for spare parts? And this is what they recommended. They said, put 2 bar nuts in there. And I'll attest to that, because we did have, I think, 2 guys that lost one of their bar nuts when they were changing their bar or changing a chain or something, and weren't able to find them, and they were running with 1. So having a couple extra bar nuts, I can those in there, as well as these are a kind of wear bearings that slide into the outer case. I've had these things fall off and lose them, and a chain can tear up the case, and they don't weigh much or anything. So I've got 2 of those for upper and lower, as well as a new pilot bearing that will go here for the clutch and the sprocket, the chain sprocket right there, a factory pilot bearing in case of that were to go out. And finally, 3 clutch springs. So that's a pretty small set of tools or parts there that could make the difference, and it doesn't weigh very much. And then finally, I'm going to put a killer tree tape here. This is universally understood on the wildland fire ground. This is a tree that's dangerous. You know, maybe a tree that I'm not comfortable with taking down that I want to leave for a more experienced faller. I can flag that, and everyone knows when they see it to stay away from that. So all of this stuff fits neatly in my recycled Firefighter pouch that I've pressed this into so many different rolls, and it's always such a handy thing. It just works good because it's long enough to fit your files in, and that's what I like about it. So there's a few more options here too, and I haven't completely fleshed out how I'm going to do this. I would like to have a way of mounting my my wedges on my line gear. I love the Grizzly Peak Enterprises. This is my man up in Idaho. I forget his name. I talked to him yesterday, or I sent an email yesterday to someone there and said, I'd like to talk to you about maybe figuring out a way of doing a custom design or something that I could carry this axe and the wedges on my line gear, something that I could snap on quickly if I needed them and not have to, because I can't wear a faller's belt, because I got that big belt, you know, the big waist belt on the line gear, and that you just can't have all that stuff around your waist, and this has been kind of a problem. I can take my line gear off, but it may be a situation where I need to wear it and run the saw, so I haven't quite figured that one out yet. And of course a spare chain, and of course a trauma kit right there. One other thing that I might be adding, I don't know yet, this is a shoulder pad that goes on your suspenders, your line gear. If you're going to be carrying the saw a long ways, they're really kind of painful on your shoulder, and this is a leather pad that threads in through the loop over the shoulder with the leather side out and the felt inside. And I don't know if I'm going to put that on my line gear. It all depends on how much time I spend on the saw. So that's kind of what, also what I learned was this. I'm going to be incorporating this into my kit too. Our strike team leader, old Tom, I really admired him. He was an excellent firefighter. He had 32 years of experience, I think, and I learned so much from him on this last fire. And one thing that he carried was a small folding saw, and I'm going to incorporate that as well. So that is that. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video.